mirror match. We're going to see the Druid versus Druid.
Yeah. I thought there was a good chance that we got this as our first game because it's just the safe pick. You know, Paladin is pretty good against these decks, but do you want to lead off a Paladin when the other player has Grim Patron in their lineup? And then if they lead off a Grim Patron trying to get your Paladin deck, then you have Druid here as well. So, yeah, there's some mind games going on between these two guys for this matchup, and I kind of expected to see this, at least one, if not both, Druid decks.
All right, well, it seems like somebody's got a shade on an Innervate, but he's not going to use it there. Or is he? Guess he's just going to hold on to the... hold on to it for the Shredder play.
Yeah, I guess he's going to Shredder next turn. Now, I think I would have liked playing the Shade on turn 1 here just because of what just happened. You know,
yeah, you have to Wrath, and then...
Like, now you have to Wrath, and now you're off curve. And if you just had a 3-3, then, like, if you didn't have Wrath, you could just attack it. And, yeah, they get to use their hero power, but it's so important to take away the mana ramp in this matchup. And, yeah, get little greetings like, oh, yeah, you had 2 wild growths. All right. But, I mean, it's not the end of the world. He is going to get to Dr. Boom on turn 5, so he has an amazing curve now. Now he has Shade on 3.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think, like, his off-curve is, you know, he is a little bit off-curve, but not that much. However, his opponent has the exact same turn 5 Dr. Boom. Yeah. He gets the initiative on it. So it's all whether or not this Dr. Boom, the first one, is that much of a threat.
Man, these guys are not pulling punches in this matchup. This one's going to be big, fast.
Yeah, so it's all about whether or not the Shredder trades, because otherwise Lothar could trade both his minions into Dr. Boom and just play his own.
Yeah, and yeah, I was going to say, if he plays the Dr. Boom first, you got to believe Ostkaka's pushing for damage here, and you can't blame him. He's got Savage Roar in his hand and a Druid of the Claw, so he has a ton of burst damage out of his hand, and he's just looking for a good, quick, easy win.
Yeah, I mean, if you're Lothar here, do you double trade into Dr. Boom and play your own? I mean, that leaves you with a Shredder drop and 2 Boom bots. And then you leave it to the RNG gods to handle this.
Yeah, but I mean, I think you almost have to, because what do you do if you don't do that? You know, the rest of your hand is not good. Like, you have a Wrath on a board that's, like, not amazing for Wrath. You have this Wild Growth that you're not Wild Growthing into anything if you don't Boom here.
So it's just like a counter push? Everybody's pushing for damage?
I mean, if he does... I gotta believe he's... Yeah, I was supposed to say, I gotta believe he's trading in here. I would have liked to have seen him, you know, trade in first just in case. Or whatever,
yeah, but well, what if Mana Wraith and what if Nerebar Weblord?
Yeah, true. We saw that would actually happen on Friday. We saw Weblord come in and start to mess up some stuff for some players.
Yeah, I think Stansif ran into the Nerebar Weblord, or it might have been another player, but I remember it was really rough because it basically prevented the curve from playing out. And now Ostkaka is the one who's on the back end, on the back foot, that is. So what does he do here? Like, he's got the ability to use the Keeper's Ping to kill Dr. Boom with Shredder Boombot.
Yeah,
but it's kind of inefficient.
It's inefficient because you don't get to do really anything else. Right. During the turn, it matters where your Boombot goes. All kinds of crazy stuff can happen. I mean, I've seen, you know, 1 Boombot running into something spawns 4 more Boombots. As I'll say, you could just see Savage Roar as, like, kind of a clear here this turn because, it, you know, it gets in a ton of a little bit of damage, takes care of some minions, and then still leaves him with a lot of pressure for his hand going forward from here. I mean, that turn was really hard, honestly. I don't know if there's any great options for him.
Yeah, the problem is that the boom bots have such a high level of variance that making running the calculations as to exactly what you want to do at that stage is really difficult. And Lothar picks up 2 wild growths on, you know, with 6 mana already open. There's no way he wants to ramp into anything. So those are basically going to be excess mana. I can't quite see anything else.
There's no way you don't cycle a Wrath here. I mean, you just have to pick up an extra card. I mean, his hand is just abysmal going forward. Right. It's just pure mana. You know, what is he even ramping into? And then what are you using Keeper of the Grove for? Do you just kill the shielded mini-bot here and try to get a board presence? You know,
give him a swipe, give him a Wrath, give him something good.
Yeah.
That doesn't seem exactly compelling. So we might just see Lothar keep the boom bots and play his own Aspirant just because it's a board presence.
Yeah, it is a minion, you know, to get some pressure in. You don't care about the mana growth from it right now. You know, getting the extra mana doesn't do you anything. Losing the extra mana doesn't do you anything. And you're technically the one with initiative here. I mean, you have the first minion on the board, but Ostkaka gets turn 7 first. Want to clear it.
And what's scary is, you know, Lothar did take 4 from that boom bot, And in a matchup like this one, that's basically a free Druid of the Claw with charge to the face. And it's very difficult sometimes to get that extra 4 damage as Druid. You're looking to get every little bit of damage. You're often taking off your opponent's health in chunks of 4, 3, or 5. So getting that extra boom bot for 4 is just giving him just an incredible lead.
Yeah, and I like Ostkaka going into taunt mode here. It's going to be really hard for Lothar to kill this without a swipe, and if he uses swipe this turn, it leaves him with just 4. Well, speak of swipe, it leaves him with just 4 mana. So it's not like Ostkaka can really get punished beyond this too. He can't develop, a gigantic board here, and he's still got some good plays himself. He's still got an Azure Drake into possibly some other stuff as well. So he's just buying his time here.
Yeah, would you ever go for like double Keeper to kill the Keeper of the Grove?
You haven't seen a Druid of the Claw yet from Lothar, and how much value is a 2/4 really giving him?
Yeah, I guess the Drake is just the best one overall. There's like no reason to.
Yeah, you've already seen Wraths out of him. You've already seen Swipe. Like, there's a good chance he just has to trade his minions in against his Azure Drake, because can you really leave it on the board? It looks like he might be going for that play. It's aggressive, and he has a Force of Nature in his hand, so maybe Ostkaka is just trying to get this game over with as soon as possible. This also makes sure that his Azure Drake lives next turn, and if he top decks a Swipe, that could be a really big thing.
So you have to double Wild Growth into 1 excess mana. That's all you can really do.
I was going to say, is this something Lothar actually wants to do, since it could be 2 cards next turn?
Well, do you expect to die, right? That's the bigger question. Because Ostkaka's got lethal next turn if Lothar doesn't at least armor up. Or find some kind of taunt. Because he's got Force of Nature with 2 attack minions. That's 14 right there, plus a hero power. So Lothar either needs to find a taunt or to armor up, and if he armors up, he's still pretty close to dead.
Yeah, I like this play because I think Wild Growthing into another Wild Growth doesn't really do a whole lot. You get 1 card with 6 mana, and this at least puts you in a position where you can do something. You're kind of challenging the board. You have a 2/3 in play afterwards as well if Ostkaka wants to trade in here, and this gives you at least a chance to have something start to happen next turn. Because you can start drawing extra cards over the next turn or 2. You're just hoping Ostkaka's hand is blank here.
Yeah, but when you see that Emperor fall, I think you think you've got no chance of winning, because now Wild Growth doesn't even cycle. That's the problem, is like by waiting, the 2/3 dies and you can't draw anymore, because you have to redo that but a turn later. So it sucks a little bit. We'll see what he does. He picks up a Savage Combatant, so he can kill
the Druid of the Claw.
The Druid of the Claw.
The Keeper of the Grove, yeah.
What's interesting is, what if Savage Combatant gave you 2 armor as well?
Oh, it gave you the +2 armor? This card would be insane. Yeah.
But would it be like broken insane or like cool insane? There's 2 levels, right, of like insanity when it comes to cards like these.
Yeah, like how much does it fit? Like how good really is it? And that's actually a big deal that you mentioned. I still think it'd be very good against all the aggressive decks, because you're gaining 3 plus killing one of their guys every single time you hero power. So if they don't have an answer to it, it just runs away with the game. But I've played this deck and innervated out a Savage Combatant on turn 1 and hero powered down their guys and still lost the game before, because you don't have anything else behind.
Yeah, your face takes a lot of damage. So what's interesting here is Ostkaka's playing around Lothar, representing Force of Nature Savage Roar, but he'll be very surprised when he sees nothing but the Wild Growths. And Lothar has what for outs? Like a taunt minion at best, maybe. I was gonna say a clutch heal might keep him alive in his mind for 1 turn.
Yeah, he can heal here, but it puts him to exactly 13, which Ostkaka can do, and he knows that he needs to just draw a card here and try to find something. Maybe like Sludge Belcher, if he has it in his deck. Some of these decks still run 1 Sludge Belcher. That would have been way better, the turn before, obviously. I mean, the draw before.
Alright, so Lothar is losing the game here. Ostkaka's going to take it. Well, that's Mirror Match Druid. That was a really weird matchup, because, well, the way the match went, because the game usually I expect to finish explosively. But it was really just a grind, a very, very slow grind. Keepers of the Grove used to kill other Keepers of the Grove, and just marginal plays. Swipe Keeper to kill a Druid of the Claw. That was a really very slow game.
Yeah, it had the chance to be an explosive game with someone winning early. We saw a lot of mana ramp, early Dr. Boom, but then it was answered immediately with what was on board, and then another Dr. Boom of their own. So they just kind of ran each other out of actual threats with all their mana ramp, and then had to clean it up with what was left over with a bunch of 2/3s and 2/4s. And Ostkaka found a couple better cards there earlier at the end, and it allowed him to win the game. And Ostkaka looks like he's going to get the better end of this matchup as well. I mean, Lothar's deck is a little bit better than most of these versions against Grim Patron, though, and we saw that it has a lot more game against these Grim Patron decks than your typical Secret Paladin list that we've seen so far.
Yeah, we just have to wonder though, like how good is a start like this one? Like, do you keep Mr. Challenger because it's guaranteed refueling, or are you looking for those divine favors? My assumption is he's going to try to find divine favors, possibly throw back the Challenger, just because we've seen a lot of players do that. I think the mulligan phase of the Secret Paladin deck is still being refined and worked on, so we'll see. General rules coming out of the metagame in the future.
Yeah,
so he kept it. It seems
that's been a nightmare for me playing this deck. Every single time I open I look at my opening hand, I'm just like, what do you mulligan? Like, I guess you keep Mysterious Challenger, but you just have all these secrets, and like, what secrets do you keep in what matches? Do you always mulligan all of them? I mean, it's been pretty crazy, and Lothar's hand has not a lot of early action.
Yeah, he kept the Mysterious Challenger. He finds another one. This is probably one of the worst starts you could get. One of the worst starts you could get as a Secret Paladin. It's pretty slow, so I guess there's chance for it to ramp up and be amazing. But Ostkaka might just play a tempo frothing here.
Yeah, and I actually think he will. This is something we see a lot of the really good players and just really aggressive players with Grim Patron, because they know, like, how are they going to get punished here? Like, what's going to happen to them to kill their Frothing Berserker? And you can just steal games this way very easily.
Yeah, there's almost nothing that Lothar can do. I mean, he'd have to get through the ghoul first and then kill the Frothing with, say, a True Server champion, or have gotten a Repentance up, which he didn't. So that's leaving him in a position where that Frothing is likely to get maybe 2, 3, 4 attacks in and whittle down his health to a total where he's just about dead at that stage.
Yeah, and luckily for him, he has a redemption hero, because if he didn't, this turn could put this game way out of reach.
They might still be way out of reach. We'll see how Ostkaka plays these cards, because he still has the ability to kill the mini-bot and not leave it up afterwards.
Yeah,
if he slams and then uses Cruel Task Inner Rage to finish off the second part of it.
Yeah, I mean, this is... I love how aggressive these players have become with Frothing Berserker, and that you don't have to look for the OTKs, because sometimes, I mean, look at what's happening here. This is just going to be way good enough.
Yeah, and then what if Lothar has to use a True Server to smash his face into the Frothing? You don't care. You're happy with that. He's taking another round of damage.
Yeah, you're going to get in 18.
Yeah, like, with a 3-drop. Sounds good.
Yeah, I mean, there's no other card in the game that does that. It gets an 18 for a 3-drop. Maybe Huffer if it just doesn't get answered for 3 turns. Like, there's like no other card that has this kind of effect on the game.
Yeah, and it doesn't get better for Lothar. He picks up no answer. He's just got a Noble Sack, which you don't want to play because you're feeding more damage into the Frothing. The Competitive Spirit on a 1/1 doesn't feel good. You don't want a Hero Power because you give him more damage. Every play you make just feels like it's putting you further behind than ahead.
He might just be dead. I mean, what does he do from here to even get into this game? He has to find a True Silver champion when he's not dead. Like,
he has to mind game his opponent into thinking he's got stuff he doesn't have.
Yeah, I guess that is one thing that could possibly happen. He will be able to Mysterious Challenger next turn, so...
that's something. I mean, if the 2/2's dead, then that's kind of okay.
No, Ostkaka's hand, not super amazing if Lothar can get through this. I mean, he has 2 Warsong Commanders, but none of the payoff cards to really get going with it after that.
Well, Consecration could help.
Yeah,
right,
Consecration
that's something.
could help.
You could consecrate the Frothing off the board. And this is eye for an eye.
Oh, wow.
It's a trap.
Just the...
Right.
I haven't seen eye for an eye in, what feels like decades.
Yeah, it would be hilarious. It's a card that was played back when Molten Giants were really OP.
Well, there we go. There's a way to take care of it. It's going to cost you...
your life, because you're dead
resources,
afterwards. No, you're dead. You can't do it. Because if you point out Mr. Challenger, you die. If you trade, that's maybe the only way, I guess. You can...
Yeah, the only way that you can recover her. I mean, Ostkaka only has...
do that, but if Patron doesn't finish this game off...
Yeah, Ostkaka only has 3 cards in his hand here, so you're just hoping it's bad from here. I mean, he does get to make a Warsong here, and the Consecration not going to be able to take care of it. This Mysterious Challenger is going to be able to, present some... I guess Dr. Boom is actually just kind of better, right? Is it?
Well, it depends on how you look at it. If Patron comes out, then I guess you could say no, because then you feed him Patrons with the boom bots.
Yeah, and Ostkaka can push for some damage here as well. I mean, he could get super aggressive with Armorsmith and Warsong Commander if he wants to, but you gotta believe there's gonna be like some execute stuff going on this turn instead.
Yeah, I would probably hold on to the second Warsong, just because you might actually end up needing it.
Yeah, Boombot going to the face there, that's not good for Lothar. He really needed a couple of these minions to get taken care of by these Boombots. He's going to draw so many extra cards this turn.
This is a near complete blowout.
Yeah, well,
I don't think I've seen like a game go as fast as this in this matchup.
Yeah, this is unbelievable. I mean, that Frothing Berserker got in over 20 damage way early in the game. He went unchecked for multiple turns. You know, he's got the execute here, plus draw 2 more cards.
Yeah, at this stage, it doesn't really matter what he plays. Eventually, the weapons will kill his opponent.
Yeah, even
there's no healing in Lothar's deck besides the True Silver Champion.
Yeah, he even picked up a Grim Patron here, has the other Warsong Commander in his hand. I mean, does Mysterious Challenger have a chance to get him out of this?
I guess you could go Secret Keeper and Mysterious Challenger and hope everything lines up, but how do you kill him? I think you can survive, 2 more turns at best, maybe, but killing off the Patron Warrior after this start doesn't look realistic.
I mean, yeah, Ostkaka is at 41 here. He's been steadily gaining life this whole time as well. Armor Smith, getting a lot of value. The Shield Block getting value. It's going to be pretty hard for Lothar to come back from here.
Well, I guess lesson learned, look for Divine Favor against Patron. I'm thinking maybe that's the better way because they're bound to draw a ton. So maybe keeping Mysterious Challenger is not the best mulligan. We'll have to really see how the pros develop that playstyle because it's still very much unrefined.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to have Warsong, Grim Patron here this turn. We're going to be able to clean up all this and make a gigantic board. There's no coming back from this one.
This is going to be game. Yep. And he's showing all the cards on the left, showing that he's been holding on to the win for a bit now. Just doesn't have to show all the top decks. Doesn't want to tilt Lothar Ostkaka with the very gentlemanly win right there.
Yeah, I meant to say Frothing Berserker there. I said Grim Patron's the name of the deck. Right. I always call it that, yeah. But yeah, just easy lethal there. I mean, how much damage did that Frothing Berserker do at the beginning of the game? It did something like 22, 23 damage.
It was, I think, about 21 or 22 damage. It wasn't that vicinity. It was an insane amount for a 3-drop, right? And the good thing is it came right behind the ghoul, so there was nothing Lothar could do about it.
And we see a lot of players getting that like that with Grim Patron now. They get super aggressive on turn 3 with their Frothing Berserkers because they know their matchup and there's not a lot that the other player can do to punish them from there. In fact, there was nothing that Lothar could do to punish him from there. And I think we're getting the matchup that you and I wanted to see, the Paladin mirror here, but they're 2 different decks.
I think we were talking about this earlier, right? Which one of these 2 secret decks actually has the edge? Ostkaka is a lot more aggressive, and as a result is able to pack on more pressure, but all it takes is a good muster for battle, a consecration on Lothar's side, which is played, on both sides to win the game. The thing is, for both players, Blessing of Kings is very dangerous and scary. Because the moment you get one big minion, none of them has a really good way to answer it. Ostkaka is running Owl, and that's giving him a small edge on that front. Wow, Lothar with the Seal of Champions.
Yeah, it's something we don't see all the time. That's kind of new. And he's going to get the first muster for battle, which is big in this matchup. Plus, he has a second one with a Knife Juggler for turn 5, which could be huge in this matchup and regaining board tempo because these can snowball out of control very quickly. There's muster for battles on both sides. You have stuff like shielded mini-bots and Knife Jugglers. Crazy stuff can happen with Argent Squires, but this is how they interact with each other's boards while still pushing for a ton of damage.
Alright, well, Lothar's already taking a lot of damage, and if he has to use his face anymore for this, wow, that's a great pickup to help out. He could have used Seal of Champion, really, because you do get to keep the minion alive, I think. You can sacrifice, the Divine Shield, but it's overall probably a bit better. It's funny that they found a way to slot it in, because some people are debating Seal of Champions, right, as a result of it taking the same flex spot as Blessing of Kings.
Yeah, and it does curve a little differently than Blessing of Kings does. You can go 1-2 into Seal of Champions, and it's way more aggressive than Blessing of Kings. And it just matters how many matchups the extra toughness matters. Is the Divine Shield better than the extra toughness buff? Because the 1 damage, that's kind of not
almost irrelevant,
yeah,
right?
It's almost irrelevant.
Right.
Yeah, but are there matchups where the extra toughness matters, and that can be a big thing.
Yeah, I think it's mostly against classes that don't have the AoE. Against other aggro decks, there's a possibility that the Seal of Champions is better just because you're curving lower, and as a result you get almost the same mileage out of a different card, and it's costing you a little less. And an aggressive mirror match, I guess that's better.
Yeah, I mean, it allows you to be swept up by Consecration a little bit easier. Your guy isn't just a 5-5 or a 6-6, where instead it's just a 5-2. But you do get the Divine Shield, so if you can utilize it, it fights for the board maybe a little heavier, while the other one just fights to kill your opponent a little bit quicker and more. So, I mean, there's merits to both ends, and you'd have to play a lot of games to figure out exactly which one was better in certain situations.
All right, so if you're Lothar here, you need to deal with that Shredder. Do you rely on the Juggler, Muster, and the 1/1s you've got set up, just because you need to push for damage and open yourself up to Consecration, or do you just Kings and do it like the old-fashioned way, I guess?
I think I would prefer to Kings. It's a little safer. I think one of the only ways you lose this game is if you do something like run one of your guys in and then Knife Juggler Muster for battle, which now he doesn't even need to, because this Ancient Watcher, Ostkaka might have Owls in his deck, but that you're not gonna super play around that. In fact, do you think there's a chance he ever just eats this Ancient Watcher here?
I don't know. I mean, you can return the favor of being punched in the face repeatedly here. So he takes it, and I can't really blame him because he's setting up lethal a lot earlier by going face. But Ostkaka, because Lothar's hand is quite filled up, I mean, if you look at it, the card count is a bit higher. He can get a semi-decent Divine Favor here by playing the Argent Squire and the South Sea deckhand.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't develop much of his board, but it does maybe find him outs for this game. That's the thing he has to do here. I mean, he's starting to get beat down. He's behind on board. He needs to draw as many extra cards as he can to make sure that he's actually in this game as it progresses. And he does pick up Muster. Oh, wow, that was a pretty good 3. He picked up Muster, Knife Juggler,
and the Owl. The Owl is crazy when you consider the fact that Lothar is likely to just ignore this Ancient Watcher. I don't really see Lothar trying to kill it. But now, does that guarantee lethal on Ostkaka's side, right? Is he going to be able to push for the game on the back of this? Won't he just prefer to play a safer game and silence off one of Lothar's minions?
Yeah, I mean, there's a chance. It depends on if he has a decent clear or not, He's only had 6 mana next turn, not 7, so he can't Knife Juggler Owl into Muster, because the Owl can make the Silverhand Recruit back to a 1/1, and that might be better than just making your 4/5 an actual minion, because it's like effectively killing a 5/5 instead of giving you a 4/4.
Right.
But you can't muster a Knife Juggler in that turn, so it's going to depend on what Lothar does this turn to see how Ostkaka proceeds from here.
What I like about Ostkaka's deck is that it's running that one defensive Argus as well that we've talked about. It works very well with Divine Shields, and in this case, it's also going to be somewhat effective with the Ancient Watcher, assuming he doesn't owl it. It's still going to be a pretty good body, tanking a lot of damage. Those knives did absolutely nothing for Lothar, almost nothing.
We'll see if he got everything queued up here. I assume he did.
Probably, yes.
Yeah. Gonna use his face to take down this Argent Squire. I like this turn from Lothar here. Like, this is a much better turn against Consecration, because if Ostkaka were to have Consecration here, he's left over with a 5/5, plus his Divine Favor would get a lot of value here, because what else could Ostkaka really do? Maybe play a 2-drop, maybe, like Owl in the Consecration is like the nightmare, but then you still get to draw a lot of extra cards, hopefully, next turn, and then maybe that'll push you through. Plus, you have a redemption setup, if I remember right, so one of your minions comes back.
It comes back to life. Even if it's the 1/1, you pick up a buff that's going to carry it forward. I don't know if he plays any more of those buffs. We've seen the Kings, we've seen the Seal of Champions. Ostkaka's in a pretty, terrible position. If the juggles hit very well, which they absolutely can, he could just recover on the back of the Muster. He's going to opt for the Owl into size the 1/1. It's going to waste the redemption, but it could trigger the Juggler to kill the Owl.
Well, the first one missed there. I mean, the first re-juggle missed there. Now we got dueling jugglers on both sides here.
Yeah, it's scary if you're Lothar, because how much can you let him maybe get away with flooding the board? What if he's got True Silver and some buffs?
Yeah, I mean, Lothar's hand is kind of just priced in here. I think he just has to set up Avenge, play this, and then, Divine Favor from there. Because you have to feel ahead if you're Lothar here,
right?
And this game might slip away from you. So what's the best way to keep that from happening?
Yeah, you just clear the board away, prevent Consecration, comebacks, and then you should be able to get away with it.
I mean, he'll probably even pick up something that he can play. There's a good chance he picks up something he can play here. Well, not that one. I'll say there's a lot of secrets that he could draw. That's the one that he can't.
Well, he's still very fine, I think, because I mean, you killing the Juggler, you kill the Owl, you can push face for a total of 6 right now, which puts your opponent on 4, so True Silver Champion should finish him off next turn.
Yeah, I like that line a lot. Just take care of the Owl, put him to 4, and just hope he can't 14 you. I mean, there's not a lot of ways for them to 14 you.
Yeah, well, I mean, Mysterious Challenger would put a dent in your ability maybe to stabilize, assuming your board can handle all the secrets, but overall I think he's got enough minions to throw away as cannon fodder.
Alright, I think he's going to just overtrade here and just be, very cautious. Which, I mean, you can't blame him. Yeah.
I think it'll work out. Defensive Argus is one of the only Owls that really Ostkaka's got. That is, unfortunately for him, not the Defensive Argus he was hoping for, and Lothar should be able to take the game.
Yeah, he's not going to get the sweep here over
Yeah.
Lothar. But Lothar has to get through this deck 2 more times. And Lothar still has Grim Patron left over as well, which should be a decent enough matchup for him here. But he has to get through this with Druid, and that might be a hard thing for him to do.
Ostkaka playing around Noble Sack. He doesn't want to attack into it. In case it's Noble Sacrifice, then he takes 2 damage and has a guaranteed lethal for Lothar. Well, Lothar already has a weapon, and Ostkaka is just going to concede it. So, I mean, this deck from Ostkaka hasn't exactly been doing fine, to the point where it's almost his weak spot, I'd say. Like, we've seen him play the other 2 decks, which of course are consistent by virtue of what they are. This deck, however, feels like it's maybe erring too much on the side of pure aggro.
Yeah, I think it is actually just the pure aggro Paladin deck, and it's in a weird spot for the way people are playing this tournament, because almost every person is bringing Grim Patron and Druid, and it feels like it's a very good matchup for you against Druid and a very bad matchup for you against Patron. Like, I think Lothar is a severe favorite in this matchup, like one of the biggest favorites you can be in all of Hearthstone.
Oh, we saw somebody take it away the other way, right? I think somebody ended up winning with that deck. It might have been Lothar himself to win against Patron with his Paladin deck, so it's not impossible, but it's a very lopsided one, if anything.
Yeah, Ostkaka, I don't think he has like some of the same tools that Lothar had. Like, Lothar's build
Right.
seemed way better for that matchup you're talking about. You loved the Dr. Boom and those kinds of things.
Right, of course. I mean, Dr. Boom is obviously a lot better. Like, if you're curving your mid-range a little bit higher, you can definitely deal with the Patron. Oh, alright.
Yeah, sorry, I've lost a video here.
Alright, we've got to do a little recall, won't be long.
What now?
I might keep Muster just because it forces them to have a Whirlwind, but it's not exactly a necessary keep. Wow, okay, so Lothar is just going to clean up minions as fast as he can. 1 at a time, don't take damage.
I like what you said there. Sometimes you just muster and hope they don't have a Whirlwind. And then if they do, it's not like the end of the world, because you still get a couple damage out of the card, and then you get the Whirlwind away from them. And that keeps them from drawing extra cards with it off like Acolyte of Pain, because this is the nightmare. When you have Acolyte of Pain plus Whirlwind, and you have a muster, this is just so scary. Now, one of the ways this deck can steal a game in this matchup, the way I found it, is if you ever get a Blessing of Kings on to say the shielded minibot here,
you win.
And they just don't draw and execute, they can take something like 6 to 12 to 18 damage from it. And that's good enough for you most of the time to get through. And that is actually one of the ways this deck can win, because, as we said, this is a rough matchup.
I mean, Lothar is going to be able to deny any and all board present from Ostkaka, so unfortunately the Blessing of King's Dream is not going to happen today for him.
Yeah, he picks up the,
it kind of sucks. I mean, when you're hoping they don't have it, it seems like Fiery War Axe is always there, Whirlwind's always there, the worst possible moment.
They always have it. I mean, they never don't have it. I mean, because, like, try to construct a 5 or 6 card hand out of Patron that can't handle an early game thing. It's like, it has to be like Patron, Frothing Emperor.
Yeah, you've at least got ghouls, you've got Whirlwinds, you're probably going to be capable of handling all those 1-on-1s. Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, it's kind of, at random, you're likely to be able to deal with it. And even if you've just got the Armorsmith, right? Like, that's enough to keep you in the game.
I mean, Armorsmith also just a complete nightmare for this deck. I mean, it trades for, like, 2 or 3 of your cards half the time and gains them life. I mean... Yeah, I mean, you just pretty much have to YOLO and, like, hope it's good enough. You just
my goodness.
Yeah, picks up the second Whirlwind here, just gets, like, an 8-for-1 off of it, just...
Casually, you know.
Yeah, this is hard to watch.
Yeah, you can go Whirlwind, Battle Rage. I mean, it's 2 cards. Would you take the extra card off Battle Rage, or would you wait to use it, or is it fine? Because I'm afraid of Divine Favor. I might even not play it.
There's something to be said about just getting a couple cards deeper into your deck, because... you still need to finish the game off at a decent pace. And you don't need to do crazy things against Paladin to finish the game off. You need a Grim Patron, or like a Frothing Berserker half the time. Like, I like just putting this guy out there, this Warsong Commander out there, because there's not a lot of ways he can punish you on an empty board. Yeah, he could draw, True Silver Champion like he did.
Yeah, for one of those cards, but it's very unfortunate, I guess, because it's like the only out that really does it. Nobody plays Hammer of Wrath anymore,
right?
And you're also denying them Divine Favor draw as a result of that.
Also, you're denying them a lot of their reach. Like 4 damage just got taken away from Ostkaka, and that's a really big deal in this matchup because they're racing you. So, I mean, you're just seeing the problem here. I mean, there's not a lot of great things he can do. And he's just going to set up a turn here in about a turn or two if he finds a Grim Patron, where it's going to be very easy for him to win because Ostkaka eventually is going to have to develop a board. And, I mean, there's a Patron. And eventually he's going to have 1/1s in play. So, 8 1/1s are going to hit the board.
Yeah, so Lothar consistent, plays the Frothing, feeds it to the True Silver. He knows that he won't need it to kill his opponent. Patron will do that on its own. You really don't need the Frothing to OTK him. And you're way beyond the point of, tempo Frothing. It's really just to leech that True Silver charge away.
Yeah, exactly. It's a leech of True Silver charge away, gain 4 life here, which he's perfectly... I mean, he just paid 3 mana, and up for a card that said gain 4 life, destroy your opponent's weapon.
Yeah.
And in this matchup, you're completely fine with that because you already have a Patron. It's going to be almost academic for you to win from here once you get to just 7 mana. I mean, it doesn't even need to go super crazy.
So how do you play this here? Like the Horse Rider with the Blessing of King is actually a great card for Ostkaka to have. I mean, it's giving him a turn 7 that he otherwise simply wouldn't have, and it's emptying his hand completely almost. Where if he finds a Divine Favor, there's a chance he just picks up more fuel. But is that fuel even gonna matter?
There's a possibility that something crazy happens and this Horse Rider can bring home a lot of damage. But like if I were Lothar, I would just there's almost something to be said about not killing these minions. Or not killing all of them just to keep food around for Grim Patron since you don't have like a Whirlwind yet or an Activator. But since he picked up Deathspite, he can actually start to make this play a little bit more because, he has that inevitability down the line. But now he's face down with, with this test, and this is rough.
Yeah. Double Ghoul.
Yeah, he has ghouls like this. Yeah, now the Ghoul is going to be able to take care of this along with an Execute. So Ostkaka, that might have been his last hurrah. Do you think there's a chance he can win it from this spot?
I mean, if he goes for the Ghoul kill on the Execute by charging it, I don't think so. If he plays double Ghoul, then maybe. If he just gets like back-to-back chargers and that's it.
Yeah, but I think he's going to just play it safe here, run the Unstable Ghoul in and use the Execute. We've seen him play this game very safe, very not slowly, just methodically.
Right, methodically would be the right word.
Yeah, and I like the way he's playing this. It's fine. There's no reason for him to get overzealous here. I mean, he's at 19. And Ostkaka is obviously out of gas, and you just have inevitability. Like, he pretty much can't ever kill you here. You don't even have to charge your Grim Patrons anymore, most likely.
All right, Ostkaka is just going to concede it, knows that he's already out of gas, knows that he has to seize the initiative. You need to get that early board with Divine Shields, ideally, with shielded mini-bots and everything, just to make sure the Patrons simply can't contest it. You dodge the War Axe, you dodge the Whirlwinds, which is basically dodging their entire deck, and maybe then you do it.
Yeah, it's so difficult. I mean, doing that, it's a magic trick in and of itself. I mean, you just have to dodge that matchup. Like, you do more than just dodging the cards. But, as we said, this might be a pretty good matchup for Ostkaka here, though.
Well, Lothar's got the triple ramp starting hand. You pick what you want, you throw back the rest, and maybe that's enough. However, we have to say something about the matchup. If no swipes are found, it can be very tough for the Druid player.
Yeah, I mean, this matchup is one of the matchups you're looking for with aggressive Paladin decks because you can even start to set up boards where swipe isn't backbreaking against you because you have so many divine shielded minions and some other big plays that you can have, and then you have a lot of recovery after that as well. You have charge minions, blessing of kings, and stuff like that, and they're playing 1 minion a turn while you're playing 2 to 3 and buffing them. This is one of the matchups you really want with this deck, and Ostkaka, he's just going to map out the rest of his game from here. And it's really hard to get punished on Knife Juggler. If they don't have Wrath, you don't get punished right away, and if they do, they're not ramping on turn 2.
I guess the only punish is you end up having to trade it away into a Darkness Aspirant. I was thinking maybe he could play Ardent Squire, then he coins out the Horse Rider to kill off, with the Ardent Squire and the Horse Rider, kill off the Aspirant. But he prefers to go into from Juggler to Mini-Bot. And, I mean, that's a perfectly fine line of play.
Yeah, I do like your idea quite a bit. And this is a weird thing we've talked about a little bit. People are still figuring out how to play against Druid again because they have Aspirant now on turn 2, and it makes your turn 1 and 2 plays a little bit different than they would be, or the way you like, and you figure it out afterwards. You're like, oh man, if I would have played something other than that Knife Juggler, my trade would have been better against that card. And it's just something that we're going to see people start to incorporate in their plays a little bit more.
Yeah, the thing is, it doesn't follow, because you've seen this deck 25,000 times, it feels, but it's actually not the same. Like, just because the Aspirant made its way in, the early game is so much more consistent. Ostkaka with a great pickup and Blessing of Kings, Divine Shield. If there's no Keeper of the Grove, this is going to force Lothar in a really weird spot.
Yeah, and it's 6 power, so the BGH
can't do it.
It just draws Abusive Sergeant off the top to just get him. But...
Right, Mark of the Wild BGH, here we come. We're going back to the Mark of the Wild Black Knight days. I remember those days. That was good.
Well, that's something that actually happened. I was not around.
Oh yeah, Ram Druid was playing Mark of the Wild. It was all the rage with Karen Bloodhoof, and you would Mark of the Wild their stuff and Black Knight it. It was perfect.
Pirate check. I don't think there are any in Lothar's deck, so the ship's cannon won't be firing off anytime soon in this game, unfortunately.
Yeah.
One of my favorite things to do in all of Hearthstone is firing a ship's cannon.
I mean, if you've got, say, you just start playing Blingtron Druid, right?
Well, I mean, yeah, Ostkaka, if like he gets one off one, he actually has South Sea Deck Cannon in his deck. He can fire off a cannon in this matchup, and
yeah, play Faceless, get that guy, and then play the South Sea Deck Cannon, fire his face for 2 damage. That sounds good. Oh man, all right.
Going through hoops at all.
All right, so Ostkaka's got the Owl. He can just negate this board. The only way he dies is if his opponent has like double Innervate, Force of Nature, Savage Roar. I mean, that's a really, really big, you know, I mean, a really rare occurrence, I guess, I want to say. And now if you just push his face, maybe... Oh, so he decides to kill his Shade, okay. If you just push his face, there's a good chance that Lothar simply can't recover from it.
Yeah, he's just hedging his bets a little bit here, because one of Lothar's best ways to recover from this is just playing Force of Nature this turn, and then that means you have Horse Rider plus Divine Favor. Next turn is your turn 6 as like kind of a full reload, and it's going to be really hard for Lothar to recover from that as well.
Yeah, swipe again, already the biggest problem. You know, if there's a swipe here, Lothar recovers.
Yep.
But he doesn't have it. Hero power down the Artisan Squire, swipe, trade with the cannon. That would do it. But it's, again, the same problem he's running into every single time, and the Keeper's a little late to the party.
Yeah, I mean, he needed this the turn before. If he had this earlier in the game, this could have been a way more competitive game, but
yeah,
the damage has pretty much already been done by this minion. I mean, he's going to recover this board a tiny bit here, but Ostkaka has, you know, just a little bit more push left over, plus this Divine Favor. It's going to be a little too much for Lothar, most likely.
Well, it's not impossible. So he's got 3 damage right now, another 2 from the hand. You have to go for the reload, right?
Yeah, I think Horse Rider into Divine Favor is just too good. This is, I think, the best turn you're going to have to play it. You're going to draw 3 cards off of it. Plus, I mean, you're not falling super far behind while doing this. You know, the board is still recoverable if something crazy happens next turn, like, you know, he gains 5 life off of Ancient Lore, or he makes a 5/10 off Ancient of War, and this gives you, you know, even options to get through that as well, because you have like Knife Juggler to help finish off, and just have the knights go to face.
Yeah, I don't think it's like it's not completely over if Ostkaka trades just a little bit, because Lothar could still find a heal. I mean, he's got 1 heal with the Ancient of Lore, which buys him a little bit of time. Oh wow, that swipe.
It's not as good as it would have been a couple turns ago, but it's still pretty good.
Lothar's 1 turn behind. He's lagging. There's something.
Deck lag.
Yeah, that's what's called deck lag. You just can't find the answers ever.
Yeah, it's always the next card. I've always said I want the option to draw the top card of my deck whenever the game is over, just to see how close I would have been to getting there, just to tilt myself more in games.
He just starts feeding people on ladder. You're like, dude, I had the BGH answer, you roach boy. I almost had this game. Oh man. So Lothar is going to heal, obviously. I mean, what else are you going to do in a position like this? And he's going to clean up the board a little bit, but Ostkaka's got 3 damage available, an extra 4 in hand, and the Juggler also possibly giving him a little bit more. But I wouldn't be surprised to see just Abusive South Sea Lothar.
Yeah, I was about to say, I like Abusive South Sea Lothar here because it cuts some outs from Lothar. You know, he can't Force of Nature or swipe you next turn, and that's pretty big deal. Plus, you get to push a lot of damage this turn as well.
Yeah, the question is, I mean, it prevents swipe for sure. There's no way he can swipe. You need 9 mana to do it, which means he has to use his minions and his face to clear, possibly find a taunt or a wrath that he's going to pay a lot of mana for. So, I mean, Ostkaka's playing probably... Actually,
what's up? Maybe he can push for a ton of damage here this turn too if you go Knife Juggler,
Well, no, he can
Sousy,
definitely.
abusive.
He's got at least 7. At
You're-
least 7.
Yeah, it matters where these juggles go. Going to the face is pretty big.
Oh, he's not gonna go for that. He's gonna play his Paladin Shredder.
Okay.
Are you
He's just gonna
trading
trade off
ever?
minions here? Yeah. This is a interesting play line. Maybe he's trying to find a good trade for his horse here. Yeah, I don't mind this. I don't mind this at all. I mean, the other play is like really aggressive, but might get punished more by a giant taunter, which that was a pretty big top deck for Lothar there as well. But you know, he can't play this and swipe in the same turn.
So I'm guessing you're just gonna you're gonna attack into the Shredder with the Keeper. I mean, that's an interesting line of play that Ostkaka took. It reminds me of him playing Mech Shaman, where he makes those lines of play that are very defensive, and they look so weird to you, and then he ends up winning in the end, because he knows that the outs in his deck will allow him to likely find the lethal off the top.
Yeah, I watched him play a decent bit of that in HPL, and I saw him playing it in ATLC as well, which you were casting. And you could see that he played the deck differently than most people. He wasn't always all in every turn, you know, just trying to find that last turn to push for everything. And it seemed weird to you, but then afterwards, you know, weird to anyone, but then afterwards, it would just seem right. You know, he seemed like he just found better lines.
Yeah, it just seemed logical after you'd seen the outcome of it. Alright, so Lothar is going to try the Force of Nature Luck and see if the RNG gods are on his side. They kind of aren't, but he doesn't think he's dead quite yet because he's got the taunt.
He's going to be able to recover a little bit here with this Druid of the Claw. You know, is Ostkaka going to get punished for not pushing that turn? Yeah. That wasn't terrible. He can get in 4 here if he wants to this turn, but then he can't Lothar.
Nah, you Lothar and play the Argent, right? I mean, that's fine enough. The 5/5 is uncontested at this point, and if you play Druid of the Claw here, it's useless. Well, I don't want to say useless, but it's a lot less useful.
Yeah, I mean, he can use Abusive Sergeant to get through it and still push some damage here. Now, Lothar, you know, if he swipes, it's his entire turn, and it doesn't even get enough done. You gotta believe he's going to use the Druid of the Claw to taunt up here, and maybe armor up as well. Tight
or Shredder?
Game here to decide this match. Yeah.
Would it be... So, here's the deal. Is Shredder better than the armor up?
Alright, so that gets you to 8, and, you know, if he has to use both his minions to attack into your Druid of the Claw, your swipe finishes off the Lothar next turn, but maybe you just need to develop something for the Pilot Shredder.
To trade. Maybe you need to Shredder just to trade next turn as well, because you still can't afford to take phase damage from your trades. So maybe the body is just like a trading insurance, I guess.
Yeah, maybe it's just better just to actually get the Pilot Shredder over the 1 life here.
Looks like a tough call.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a very tough call for Lothar. He's going to take the full time to make a decision here. He's weighing, you know, all of his top decks, and he just wants the life.
Is he killing that 2-1 then?
I think there's a chance of it. Yeah.
Well, it makes sense. I mean, right now, Ostkaka is kind of forced to attack into this unless he picks up another Owl, which he might just have and find lethal, but that's not it. So he's going to be exposing himself to a swipe, which Lothar, you know, is going to be very happy to play here.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to play this Leopardome as well, too. It's going to get in 2 damage no matter what, so Lothar is at 5, but he may have just re-established this game.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, if that's not a top deck, nothing is.
Wow, yeah, you just make this now. You just innervate out this 5/10.
Yeah, I'm not risking any wonky card like Leroy Jenkins. You can't play Shredder, like that's it.
Yeah, Leroy is like the only card that would punish you not for...
I mean, if you play Shredder and you armor up, you're safe on True Silver.
Yeah, if you Shredder and armor up, True Silver doesn't kill you. But
you die to the Consecration on the following turn, even if you play the Ancient of War, because you'd go down to 1.
Yeah, I think you just Ancient of War here. It plays around the most things. It plays around the most like runner cards.
Yeah.
Yeah. Looks like Lothar agrees with us.
And Ostkaka might pick up a Divine Favor, draw 2 cards, find something semi-decent. I don't even know if there's a single top deck that helps him out ever.
Ooh, that was not a good one. Needed that a little bit sooner. Oh, and with this Savage Combatant, Lothar can really start to put the pressure here on Ostkaka.
Yeah. How much racing do you do?
Okay, so if you attack him for 8 this turn, it forces lethal next turn, so I think you just push everything to... Yeah, I was gonna say, if you don't attack... I
mean, Owl, like, Owl Kings would kill you. There's like one way you lose, right? One way you lose is if you let him have a board, ever.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, he's 1 short of lethal here, right? 5, 10, 14, 17?
Yeah, Cycle might give the lethal because he's got Savage Warriors, he's got another swipe, if I'm not mistaken. Alright, keep drawing.
Cycle again, yeah.
Oh, the life of a Druid at 10 mana.
I mean, I don't know if Ostkaka has an out anymore from here anyway, so it's... Well, and there's lethal for Lothar, but it's pretty much academic from this spot.
Yeah. Alright, so you armor up, and then you hit for 3, and you keep the Grove. That's going to give him the game, and he's going to be able to close up the series. This Paladin deck from Ostkaka has been letting him down today. I think that's what lost him all his games, or almost all of them. Maybe goes to show that we should all be playing Secret Pally.
Yeah, if you want to play an aggressive Paladin build right now, maybe Secret Paladin is the one for you to play because it has amazingly aggressive draws, and we've even seen the ones with some top end, you know, from like Lothar and the other players.
Right. Even when you build it for like a little bit more mid-range, you still get more mileage out of it than you maybe would in a typical mid-range Paladin. So it seems like all Paladin decks outside of control are converging on the Secret archetype just to get that Mysterious Challenger instant draw and instant value. So that's pretty sweet. Now that's going to close the match. Lothar is going to be moving on to the second phase, and he's going to be fighting off against Kucha, which lost to Firebat. So there's a chance that Lothar keeps going forward. They've never faced off against each other so far as I know. Did Kucha face off against Lothar?
I don't think that happened today.
Might have been Firebat against Lothar. I think Firebat against Lothar happened earlier. Yeah, that's exactly what happened. Firebat beat Lothar, and Lothar won't have to refight against Firebat, but he's going to have to beat Kucha, and that might be difficult. Kucha's Paladin deck looked really tight and well built, so we'll see if he can do it. We'll be taking a 10 minutes break before we move on to the match. That's going to be the last match of the day, sealing who's going to be making out a Group C to the next phase. Do not go anywhere. We'll be right back.
From east to west, heroes are sent, seeking glory in the greatest of events. There are knights on noble steeds, those who will bring them to their knees. There are monsters to test their mettle at every turn. Legends will rise based on their merits. There's even pirates riding parrots. It's the grand